Hi, we're David and Tracy Goss, and we're here to introduce our new program, A Love Story in Black and White.
Consider a couple embarking upon the journey of marriage. Two people coming together with different perspectives, different ideas, different opinions. The chances of them drifting apart over time are pretty great.
As marriage coaches, we like to steer couples back together toward one another again if they have drifted apart.
For our new show, A Love Story in Black and White, we could really use your help. So please submit to us questions and topics that you'd like us to cover on one of our shows.
We're looking forward to having you journey with us. Now, you'll see an email address at the bottom of your screen. That's where we would like you to direct your questions and topics for discussion. We look forward to taking this journey with you. Hello and welcome to A Love Story in Black and White. My name is David Goss.
And I'm Tracy Goss.
And we are glad you have joined us for today's episode. I'm going to go ahead and read the question that we received from a viewer. Right now, here it is. Drum roll, please. My wife and I disagree poorly. Our disagreements turn into fights with a lot of hurt feelings. Can you disagree well in marriage?
That's a good question.
It is a great question, isn't it?
I think we're the perfect people to answer that question.
Why would you say that, Trey?
We have had our share of disagreements.
No, we haven't. Yes, we have. And we have disagreed poorly.
Yes.
And we have disagreed well as well.
Yeah.
And so we have learned a few things. It's good to talk about. Would you like to start or would you like me to start?
Go right ahead.
Okay. All right. So the first thing that I would say when you start heading into a disagreement and you're thinking, oh boy, this could turn south, this could go bad really quick. Our feelings are starting to get ramped up and the emotions are turning on. I would say this. First, be an active listener. And by that, what I mean is repeat back or parrot back, oftentimes with some regularity. I hear you saying this, and double check with your spouse that you have heard correctly the point that that person was trying to make. Because so often our miscommunication, it can happen in a million different ways, right?
Yeah.
We can miscommunicate, we can be misheard, misunderstood for a million different reasons. And to be checking, just let's check up. Okay, let's pause. I hear you saying this.
We have had it happen a few times where we'll try to parrot back. I hear you saying this, and the person says, "No, that's not at all what I meant. Right. That's not what I meant to say." Right. It could be exactly. They could use your words exactly, but when you hear it back, you realize that's not what you really meant. Right. There's a better way to communicate that. Right. Or,
And which goes along with the second point, doesn't it?
Yes,
What is that point that you love before?
Define your terms.
Right.
That's something that is a stickler for me. I find myself often asking, what do you mean by that? Or, if there's a word, sometimes there are, trigger words that we use, or there's language that we use oftentimes that might not be necessary, might not be the best word to use in a situation. So when I hear certain words...
Give an example. Can you think of a good example?
Gosh, I don't know. Can you think of an example of words that I don't like? I do have certain words that I don't even want to bring up here, to be honest with you, just because there are words that I don't like, that other people don't, that are tied to politics.
They're trigger words.
They're tied to politics. They're tied to all sorts of things that I don't like to really use in conversation. Right. Because I think they cloud the issue that we're really trying to get to the bottom of. Right. That's at least when we're disagreeing about things. Mm-hmm. So there's certain words that throw that word out.
Right.
Or what do you mean about that? What is it? what's your definition of
Sure.
that word?
Sure.
And then we can go from there.
Right.
And we have found that sometimes we might not even disagree. If that word is thrown out and I'm given a definition, then I'm like, totally, I agree with that.
Right.
But I just don't like that word.
Here's another extension on that same point about defining your terms is to understand the effect or the impact of body language itself upon your conversation or upon your disagreement, because I could communicate a message to my wife through my body language, not my words. The words that come out of my mouth would not be considered as communicating this message, but my body language certainly does communicate this message. Maybe it's one of judgment or dismissal or or disrespect. I've got this furrowed brow, a person, just a frown on my face, and my spouse is telling me something, and she says, "Oh, you're dismissing my point altogether," and I'm communicating with my body language in a way that's not helpful. It can be very helpful, of course, at times when we are relaxed, we're not interrupting. Mm-hmm. We don't know anything about interrupting one another, do we?
No, we never do that.
So think about that. Keep that idea in mind too, about the impact or the importance of body language itself.
And I think even going back to like defining the terms, sometimes we question the other's body language, and he may not even, that is not what he's trying to express. So right. I look and I see this, and I say, your facial expression is saying this to me. And he'll say, "Oh, no, that's not what I'm thinking at all."
I just got done driving and for 4 hours, and I'm just tired, and it might, that's all that is. I don't mean anything other than it's just physical weariness.
Yeah, so defining your terms, asking for clarity about things like body language. A lot of times, some of this is misunderstanding, but in those cases where, no, you understand correctly, I don't like what you just said.
That's right.
What do we do about that? Right. Or I said what you think I said.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about disagreements.
Well, go ahead.
The question that the person threw out there kind of equated or talked about how their disagreements go into fighting.
Turn into a fight.
So I'd like to point out that disagreements are not bad.
Right.
Or wrong.
Right.
We can, as David said up at the top of the show, we can disagree well, or we can disagree poorly. And so understanding that, hey, we were having a disagreement. Yes, he meant what he said. Yes, I meant what I said. Now what? Right.
It is okay to disagree. In fact, I think it's the sign of a healthy community of persons. Yes. For instance, in our church, we have a variety, across the spectrum, right to left, when it comes to politics or worldview perspectives. Being in multicultural or a diverse ministry, you're going to have that. And it's good. We don't have to agree on everything. We're not looking for conformity. But what we are looking for is the ability to submit or to yield to one another, especially in the marriage context. And Richard Foster writes about this a lot in his writings. In Celebration of Discipline, he talks about this. The discipline of submission, and such. We've committed an entire show to the S word, submission.
Yes.
But we love the synonym of yielding, because we don't have to win. I don't have to win an argument with you. I can just yield. I can choose to be silent.
So I'm going to say that that's where we have gotten into the most trouble, maybe, in the past, and when we disagree poorly, because we are competitive. We're both former athletes. We're both competitive. We both are opinionated. We have very strong opinions. We can be very stubborn, And so if we're going in with an attitude of, I need to win,
I can't help but think about
there's a problem.
I can't help but think about when we were bowling recently. I mean, it was on. My wife and I are competitive. We do want to. There's other sports. I mean, if it's cards, if it's board games,
we're going to talk smack.
We're going to talk smack, and we want to win because them's bragging rights for a while to come.
So we have to be careful not to bring that into disagreements. And sometimes our kids will even ask, why are you guys, why did this go into a fight? Well, it's because we want to win.
Right.
And so if we have this attitude of, I need to win, then there's a problem. I think that leads to another point is, how are we looking at our spouse? Am I looking at David as my enemy, my opponent, my adversary?
Right.
Or is he my teammate with whom I disagree? If he's my teammate with whom I disagree, my posture is going to be different. My attitude is going to be different. My approach is going to be different. If he is my adversary, my opponent, he's the enemy with whom I have to defeat, then it's not going to go well.
And I confess that has taken me a long time to learn. It let's say more than a decade. Because when Tracy and I would disagree on something, or we would get into a sensitive topic or area of conversation, and I was feeling vulnerable, I was feeling that she was pointing out a fault of mine, I would react defensively. And it was a fight because I thought maybe she was exposing me or showing me some disrespect. That wasn't the case. This might have been an area where a shortcoming of mine or weakness of mine, but her point was not to try to rub my nose in it or humiliate me or belittle me in any way. It was just, we're bettering ourselves. We're teammates. We're advocates for one another in our growth in character as Christians in life. And so my reaction, I think I share this in common with a lot of men. I mean, we feel threatened and we fight back. We lash out. Where I had an opportunity to listen to my wife, to submit, to yield, and to grow as a result of that. God didn't give me a hurt mate. He gave me a helpmate.
Oh, that's good.
I just thought of that right now. That was pretty good. He didn't give me a hurt mate. He gave me a helpmate.
Okay.
And
preach it.
Come on now. So that's one of those areas. The ability to yield or submit is just, it doesn't come naturally to us in the flesh.
No. I also was thinking about the concept of iron sharpening iron. And I think we are very much that. I think that people who have differing opinions, and I think iron sharpening iron it's two very strong things. A marshmallow, did I pronounce that correctly? Cannot sharpen.
Marshmallow.
Yeah, that. Cotton. This is a word that I can pronounce
correctly.
Cotton cannot sharpen iron. I am not cotton. He's definitely iron. But let's say if I were cotton, he would get no sharpening. So, right?
We call you forged steel.
And so, iron sharpening iron is a very important biblical concept.
That's good.
Right?
That's good. Receive that sharpening. There's opportunities for sharpening.
We have to receive that from one another. Am I saying be critical to one another, put people down, always point out? I'm not saying that. But I am saying the personality that the Lord has given you, the brain that He's given you, your gifts, your talents, your abilities, husband, wife, bring all that to the table.
Good. Two more quick things that I have in mind, and then we'll wrap this up. But Christ was all about the heart of the matter. When he talked about the 10 Commandments, and he really went deep into the teaching on the 10 Commandments, he said, I think this is the Sermon on the Mount, right? You have heard it said, do not commit murder. But I say to you, if you look at someone with hate in your eye, if you call someone fool, you have committed murder. The way you view another person is very, very important. So I want to view a person, my spouse, with respect and with love, because it starts right there with how am I viewing this person? Am I viewing this person with honor? Am I loving this person as Christ would love? And so to start with that baseline, that's really important. There have been so many conflicts in the history of the church from people who are not willing to yield, not willing to see another person with the eyes of Christ. And churches have split because they get into an argument over the color of the carpet in the sanctuary. This faction wants blue carpet, where the other one says, well, obviously we have to have red. And people aren't willing to yield. So
husband and wives get into arguments over what color to paint a room or things like that as well.
Isn't that crazy?
And I think
when you think about it, when we step back from that kind of thing, but when we're in the middle of it, we're in the heat of battle, we dig in, we've got to win. Right. You don't have to win, friends. You don't have to win. Yield. You're surrendered to Jesus. You can surrender it to other people because Christ has you. He holds your life. Is that good, Tracy? You think that's enough?
That's good stuff. I think that there was a verse that you had mentioned.
Love does not insist on its own way. Love never fails.
If you don't remember anything else, I think that's the take home right there. Love does not insist on its own way. That is in the love chapter.
1 Corinthians 13 does not insist on its own way. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. And don't forget to send in your questions and we'll be happy to address them.
Yep. Questions.lsbw. Questions.lsbw@gmail.com. See you next time.
Bye.